What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Me and Pops Unplugged. This is episode number 2, so we appreciate you guys tuning in. So this is what we got in store for you today. So moving forward, this is an episode that's going to be about relationships, which is something everyone can resonate with, including myself. Now, obviously, me and Pops are men, so we're going to be looking at it from the male perspective, but on the flip side, we're also going to be looking at it from the female perspective as well, which I feel like is just as important. So with nothing else to do, we're going to jump right into it and then take it from there. So, Pops, first thing, I want your opinion on household dynamics in the relationship. How do you feel like that should be structured, and what do you do with Angela to kind of ensure that everything runs smoothly?
Well, as far as household dynamics, I mean, me and you kind of talked about pre-show that things are just out of whack right now. So many women are pretty much holding the house down by themselves, holding, they're the breadwinner. They're holding the house down by themselves, holding the kids down, and, making all the decisions. And, if you go back years ago, we talked about this, like I said, pre-show, that 40 years ago, the man was the breadwinner. They got married, they had a family unit. We've kind of lost that over the years. And, when you look at all the terminology, oh, my baby mom, my baby dad, it should be, my wife, my husband, my man, my lady. It's, the family unit is broken.
No, 100%. And I couldn't agree more. And really, realistically, the past 25, 30 years, this is the first time women actually have stable bank accounts. They don't need to be as reliant on men. They can have their careers. They can essentially do everything they want to without the man being fully in the picture. So that puts us as men in a particular predicament because we have to arise to what the times call for. Because if we're falling behind, if we're not actually progressing as we should, they're looking at us, well, hey, we made all these strides, at least for, femininity.
Yeah, no doubt.
And, things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a lack of purpose thing at the end of the day, especially for men.
For me, we had talked about, I can't blame women because not enough men are really, being men. A lot of them are dependent on a woman. Like I said, the woman is holding maybe the house down or the apartment. Men are living with a woman. It's their apartment or their house. And a lot of men are,
right.
There's a term, hobosexuals. They jump, because what's conducive for them, they're what's beneficial for them. So they jump around with women and, for a place to live, and they live off of women and stuff like that.
100%. AKA manipulators. Because, there's no genuineness to the relationship. They just got to do what they got to do. Now, granted, it could go both ways, male and female. There are people that are just selfish and do things for their self-benefit, which unfortunately I experienced in my life. But, my pick in women is a whole different other topic. So
that's another episode.
Right, that's a whole other episode.
But what I'm getting at, right, is you can't blame women because not enough men are actually men. And, a man is supposed to lead. Women, if they're with the right man who's living the right way and doing the right things, women they want to submit to a man, as far as they could still have their career and, all that, and their women's progression over the years. They could still have that. But if you have the right man, you're going to elevate each other. And it's like kind of how we talked about before, pour into each other.
Right.
But they're going to match our energy. Like a lot of times we think about, she got an attitude and this and that. But really women, and I learned this in my current relationship with Angela, that, they basically could run off of us. Like their energy is predicated upon how we act. So if we bring the right energy and we're positive and we're working and we don't put everything on them, we help out in the house, we cook, we pay bills, we have a job, like I said,
right.
Help out with the kids, that energy, they feed off of that energy, and that allows them to be, their full feminine self, and not because what we're doing, over the years, like I said, the baby mom, baby dad, these women had to become masculine. Took on the masculine role, and we're not allowing them to embrace their full femininity. And we need to get back to that and start having more men that act like men and lead, and leading our children and teaching our young boys how to be men, went further. And that's, we'll get into that a little later.
Right. That's definitely deeper down the road. But no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's, frankly, it pisses me off.
Yeah,
to be honest, because there are some men that I met out here, friends, different acquaintances, maybe a coworker. Granted, we're in PA, so I don't know where you guys are, but some are just either lost or lack of purpose. There have been a couple of younger guys. I do HVAC and things like that, construction work. There are a couple of younger guys that I've been through classes with. They'll ask me for advice, tips, and I don't sit here and act like Mr. Guru where I have all the answers, because I'll be the first to tell them I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's frustrating because I feel like they don't have a valid role model who actually looks out for them.
Well, that's the biggest thing.
And that's a big reason why I chose to do this,
absolutely.
As far as getting my voice out there and being heard ultimately.
And like we were talking about in the pre-show, prior to airing, video taping here or whatever you want to call it, a lot of men, especially my generation and then, forward, the family unit, as I said, is broken. And a lot of men are being raised by all women, their mom, their grandmom, their aunts, so on and so forth. So they don't know, nobody has ever shown them how to be a man and how to lead and, what a man does. And, that's really the reason for the decline. I feel, it's like an onion. There's many layers to it.
Realistically, it's just poor role models.
But absolutely, that's the biggest thing. And culture, music.
Right.
Again, I can't stand. I don't like the word hate, but I can't stand the terms the baby mom, the baby dad, and I get it.
Right.
But it's just such a negative word.
Well, it's low energy.
It's a low energy. The mindset behind that's my baby mom or my baby dad. It's just low vibrational type terminology, and we need to get out of that as people, and get back to the family unit. But you and I, as we were game planning, talked about it's systematic too. It's meant to divide the family unit. When you go into even single moms who have Section 8 or subsidized housing, there's a stipulation: the government will take care of you, but you can't have a man live with you. So they kind of want us divided anyway,
right.
Divide and conquer.
And then,
as I said, there's a lot of layers to it.
And then it's Big Daddy government, paying
exactly.
the bills, and then
government's the daddy now, not the dad of the children, but government is the big daddy now, And as we said, it's multi-layered, but us as men, we have to start. It goes back to even last week's episode about taking accountability, elevating yourself, having a job, giving back, giving the energy back to your woman and not putting everything on her plate. Just to use my own example, like, with my relationship, I work second shift, she works first shift. So we don't see each other a lot during the week. But I'll come home, she'll have most of the time dinner cooked, have a plate put up for me, right. And then she's already in bed. But what I'll do is most nights, I'm not gonna say every night because there's nights I forget or I'm tired, I will make her lunch for the next morning and have like everything set up for her. So when she gets up, she goes, she has a lunch packed. And this is what I'm talking about. Pouring into her, she pours back into you.
Yeah, that's
and then even like yesterday, perfect example. Saturdays I'm home, we have together. So I get up, I make omelets on Saturdays, and I try to do that every Saturday. And I make one for her, myself, and her son.
No, I love that. I mean,
that's what you should do. You take on responsibility. Everything should not fall on the woman. And it's just like I said, there's so many layers to it, but not enough men, are men. They're basically boys walking around, and then some. Like I said, I can kind of understand why a woman wants to be single, but then there's also a lot of women that are to blame because not to be single, but they're just settling for these men that aren't men, that
right.
are like little boys, and you're letting them use you and manipulate you.
They probably know deep down that that's not really the guy they want, but they're like, okay, he might check a few boxes here and there. Okay, he's not a terrible guy, and they're just like, all right, well, he's good enough.
And I get that, nobody wants to be alone, and Everybody wants
And
somebody, but why not be with somebody, who
right. You
who
should be with your
serves
dream
you,
person
again,
and aligns perfectly.
pour
with
into
you.
each other.
Nah, I agree.
And why settle? But too many of us do settle in life. But go ahead.
I was gonna say I got an interesting take for you. So even growing up, right? I think about when I was a kid, and even the people around me, whether it was an adult or other guys that I would talk to, in my friend group, there was always like a checkpoint. Like, hey, if you reach this checkpoint, now you're a man. Like, okay, you get in your first relationship, the first time you have sex, the first time, you play a sport. Like, there was always some type of checkpoint, at least growing up in my eyes, that I had to reach in order to be considered, quote unquote, a man. But every time I hit that checkpoint, not only did I not feel like a man, but I felt even further away
Absolutely.
from being fulfilled in my purpose.
Why, right? Because those checkpoints were bullshit.
Exactly.
They weren't
They
real.
were fabricated
That's
to begin with.
society has told us that a
Right.
man is, but that's not what a man is. A man, another thing is, like, we talk about the masculinity. There's so many men, include myself included, in the past, we're so worried about, ego and, being a tough guy. Yeah, I don't like the way he looks. I'll F him up, and all that. Like, so, and there's so many men. There's so many men in jail right now doing years or doing life because they weren't no punk. There's so many.
It's like for what?
Exactly.
It doesn't even
This
matter.
is my point. Like, we've been kind of told, like, this is a man, and a man got to be tough, and he don't cry, and gangster, and all this rugged, and that's all BS. Like, I've come to realize, like, all that tough guy trying to be cool, trying to sleep with the most women, every single one of those things has led me down the wrong road and screwed me up, tripped me up in life.
It's fabricated, and it's centered in ego, like you said. And,
absolutely.
Ego
It's
will
all
trip
ego.
you up more than anything, because
and
that comes with pride. Pride's a weakness. That comes with self-centered. Just being self-centered, selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a firm believer in, when I was a younger man, in my early 20s, I try and take. Like, that was, what can I get at?
Yeah, you're a
right.
taker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then once you reach a certain level of maturity, now you become a giver. Now you have so much abundance that you just have within your life itself. And it's crazy because I've literally seen it in real time, especially in, recent months and years of me having the right mentality and be like, you know what? I am not the embodiment of love, but that's the ultimate goal, right? Like, I have so much energy, so much good energy that I have to give, so much love, and the leadership thing is crazy too. And I know you wanted to get into that.
And think about to your point you just said. Think about instead of being a taker, being a giver, and in a relationship, same thing. Filling each other's cup up when she's down. You pour into her. When you're down, she pours into you. But there's other things like, we go out and we buy flowers and jewelry when they're mad at us. What I try to do is go buy them on a Tuesday or just a random day.
Yeah.
Just show up with flowers.
Do it when everything's cool.
When I do that for Angela, she gets so happy because it's not about, and the crazy part is I'll go to like ShopRite or Produce Junction and I'll buy flowers that are $10. It does not cost a lot. I'll buy like I said, guys out here getting high, these flowers cost less than a bag of weed. They're out there getting high. Literally. And it will make her day and make her feel special. And that's how you pour into somebody, especially if they're going through, a rough week at work or, stuff at home. Like, my bonus son, which I call Angela's son, my bonus son, he's a teenager. So, we have stuff with him and she'll be stressed out over him sometimes. He's a good kid, but, he'll do dumb shit because he's a teenager.
Right.
And she'll be stressed out. And, I try to uplift her. And that's what we're talking about. Being a giver, giving back, even if it's not monetarily or whatever. Like in a relationship, you're trying to pick up your partner, pour into them, they pour into you. And that's so key. And like I was saying about the meals, like yesterday I got up and made the omelet. It's a small thing, doing the dishes, doing things without your partner asking you to do it.
No, and I totally agree because, I lived with a woman for 5 years. I mean, you know this. I told you a little bit about that. Ultimately, it didn't work out, but, shit happens sometimes too. What I'm getting at is, the dynamic is crazy because if you're not leading properly, I mean, you're just gonna get shit on ultimately. Like that's really what it comes down
It's
to.
just like with anything.
Right.
You want to get out of it what you put into it. And
Right.
if you don't put in, it's just like a plant. If you don't water it, it's going to die. Your relationship's going to die. So you got to feed your relationship, you got to feed your partner, and vice versa.
Right. And it's a balance.
It
Like,
kind
you
of
still
goes
gotta
back
go to work. You
to
still gotta
our
do
first
shit.
episode, our introductory episode, when I was talking about recovery.
Right.
It still relates. Like I was kind of saying how when I helped these other people that were new in the recovery, helped them with sneakers or clothes or cigarettes or whatever, or just, hey, you good? Need anything? Like giving back, those things, when you serve someone else, it comes back to you. And a relationship obviously is key. You're with this person every day. So if you feed, your relationship like a plant, as an example,
No, 100%.
that thing's going to
That's
grow
food.
and it's going to bloom.
It's food for the soul.
But not enough of us, and full disclosure, I was one of those men. Like all I cared about back before was looks, how good she looked, how nice her body was, get my sex, like you said, get out of it what I can. I didn't care about their feelings. I cheated. And to be honest now, and Angela knows this, like I talk to her all the time, like I'm honest, like a man's biggest struggle is the flesh. And women know this, men know this, but women, how many of y'all, man cheat on you, he's trying to talk to somebody else, this and that, you catch him, doing something, because we struggle with the flesh. And what it comes down to, and it still relates back to last week, the trauma part. Like once you're on a healing journey and you start to learn that, look, and this is what I was saying, how I'm honest with my woman, I tell her straight up, like, I'll see women that I find attractive. And the old me would have been like, damn, I'm gonna holler at her, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But my thing is, and still today, I'll look and I'm like, damn. And then I snap myself back. And I'm like, you know what? I got a great woman at home, and I've realized everything. It's not all about the looks and the body. Like she is a great person, a great individual. Forget the physical, and we have a beautiful thing together. And I don't want to screw that up. Yeah, I don't want to screw that up. And I don't want. And on top of that, not just screw it up. I don't want to hurt her because I care about her as a person.
Right.
And that was hard for me. Even I was in, remember my ex that I was with for years. I never cheated on her, but our relationship, and I think it was because I was getting high and selling drugs. I was living the wrong life. I never really realized how toxic our relationship was. But now that, I've been sober and I live a whole different lifestyle, things have become very clear for me. And like for the first time in my life, I have a healthy relationship. Like, don't get me wrong, me and her still have problems. Like I said, we argue.
That's any
But we
couple.
bring to the table, and I shared this on a video a couple weeks ago, like whatever we deal with head on. Like, put it on the table, and like, I don't like when you do this, I don't like that. You make me feel this way, you make me feel that way. And there's no like, it's not an attack. Like if I say you hurt my feelings when you did this, like she doesn't be like, oh, what, and like an attack. We talk it out, and then we say, I apologize, and I'll try to be. And you're trying to, compliment each other. We have a life together, and but I'm honest with her. Like I told her before, like there's women out there, like I might look, but they, they can't compare because of what we have. It's special. We have a bond and a connection.
No, 100%. And that's exactly what it's all about. I mean, you'll see the signs too. Like, obviously, I know, you practice Islam. And, I'm still a Christian at the end of the day. So even though it's two different religions, I mean, there are signs that you'll see when it's not the right person. For example, you're going to see manipulation. You're going to see potential cheating. I mean, boundaries crossed left and right. Just constant bullshit that you're gonna have to deal with. Compared to the right person, those things are easier. But like you're saying, there's still gonna be challenges at the end of the day. There's still gonna be obstacles. But if you guys are on board together and you're on the same page, then
we're trying to build for the future. It's not about the now. Like even if, and this is what I was saying just now, like even if I met somebody like, oh, we could do something on the side, nobody will know, she won't know, my man won't know, it's a little, as they call it, jump off, a little side John, whatever.
Right.
Like, no, I'm good because I know, you know what I mean? And it's a whole energy thing. Like, I'm trying to build something for the future. Like, I'm not worried about that's like a kind of like an addict mindset too, where it's like you want immediate satisfaction. No, like relationships require work.
You want your
I
cake
want the long
and
term.
want to eat it too.
Exactly, but I don't want the immediate satisfaction. Even if she don't know, I know.
Right.
And I gotta live with that. I have a conscience.
Yeah.
I try to live righteously today, and I'm trying to build something for the future. So something like that, even though it is tempting, and that's it, it's just the Adam and Eve thing. Like, people don't realize, like, Adam and Eve, it's not about a piece of fruit. I hope y'all know that, right? The fruit, we know what the fruit was. The fruit was the woman, and that's the potential. That's the fruit, the poison, the temptation fruit that he couldn't resist. He couldn't resist the woman, and it's hard for a lot of men, and obviously that's one of the reasons relationships suffer, because too many men aren't. They say they want something, but they're manipulating. They're trying to, find something else on the side. It's like you have to really do some internal work, figure out what you want, and if you really don't want that as a man, like, don't get into this woman's life and then destroy it. Promise her all these things and all. There's too many men are doing that, and these women are damaged over that.
And you know what? I want to add something real quick, and I'm gonna look directly at the camera when I say this too, especially for the younger guys, like 18 to 24. There are certain things, especially coming up, that are going to be a detriment to your energy as a man. First thing that I can think of is porn, right out of the gate. Because I remember when I was growing up, I'm only 30 years old, but we were introduced to porn at like 11, 12 years old. Like, this was a normal thing. You're just like, oh, okay. Yeah, no big deal. Couple tits, an ass. All right, great. But you get so used to that and accustomed to that, especially as you develop into a full adult. Exactly. And then it's like you're already in a society, in a culture that hypersexualizes everything.
Yeah.
It's in the music, it's in the culture, the sex appeal. It's in celebrities, it's fucking everywhere you look, essentially.
Yeah.
So, I can't. It's crazy because I knock men, but then I can't knock men, because there are external sources that want to see this continue, want to see men, have low energy, want to see men not be successful within their relationships. But it does reach a point where it's like, hey, we can't use that as an excuse.
It goes back.
You got to take accountability.
You got to take accountability. You got to do better. It's low vibrational, and it's damaged. It's damaged thinking, a damaged mindset. Knowing that you're going to go out and cheat on your woman. Why are you with that woman? Like, if you have to cheat on her, if you have to cheat on her, you shouldn't be with her.
Exactly.
And look, to be fully transparent, going back to my younger years, anybody who might watch, knowing me when I was a teenager and early 20s, I got a lot of attention from women, and it's not even a bragging thing. People know. I'll be honest, I don't know my number. Your body count or whatever. I don't know how many women I slept with, because it was a lot when I was younger. I was a man whore, like, full transparency.
Just getting after it.
And when I was younger, the whole mindset was that was cool. Like, oh, I hit this many women. Like, now when I think of that, like, I don't even know the number. That's disgusting to me. You know what I mean? Like, if my woman was like, I don't know my number, how would I feel? Now I know, because she told me, and it's very, very low. Like, so it's respectable, but like,
still, you feel some type of way.
Yeah, it's disgusting when I think back. Like, and realistically, I should have a laundry list of STDs and everything else.
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, you're putting your health at risk.
Absolutely.
Every time.
And
especially if you ain't strapping up. Like, you're just going in
raw.
raw.
Speaking of that, I've been noticing. We're in Philadelphia area. The STD numbers, like in Philadelphia, AIDS cases are just skyrocketed, and in other cities as well. I mean, it's just sad. And again, it's damaged mindset, damaged thinking. It's not going back to what we were talking about last week. It's that traumatized, like, you have so much trauma that you're not dealing with, and it's just a release. It's a way to forget your trauma, and you're just hurting other people and dragging them down with you, and it's just screwed up.
Yeah.
Like, it's just bad energy.
I say it like this: it's complete. Essentially, it's complete disregard for yourself.
Exactly.
Because you're putting your health at risk. You
and disregard for them and their people.
Right. No consideration. Nothing about
And then-
consequences.
And then we talked about this as well in other conversations. People forget, like, you think, oh, it's just sex. It's never just sex. Like, that's a sacred transfer of energy.
That never works.
And, you know, you're not just sleeping with that person, you know, as far as their looks and their body. Like, you're sleeping with that person's demons, too. So if they got a bunch of trauma and a bunch of bad energy, that transfers to you.
Right. And you're carrying that around.
And you know this, I told you this, like, during my journey, I stayed celibate for like 2.5 years.
Which is
because of that. And I had offers, but it was from women that I knew were damaged and, like, you know, throwing, like, come get this, and I ain't never been with, like, you never even hung out and you offering it and, you know, stuff like that.
On the first meetup type shit?
Or women who I knew got high, you know, if I go over, I knew the drugs are going to come out and this and that. It's just, I knew that it wasn't something that I wanted. It was going to lead me down.
It's just not sustainable.
Yeah, and it was
going
going
to
lead me
jam
down
you
the
in the process
that I didn't want to go down because I was trying to work on myself. And, you know, I feel like, you know, people have to start, like you said, take accountability and start working on that, because if you want to sleep with, if you're a grown man, you know, let's say 30 plus, because I understand when you're in your 20s, you're still having fun running around going to clubs.
You're trying to do your thing.
But, and even then, not saying it's right, but, you know, younger generations going to do that. But if you're 30 plus and you're just like trying to get your numbers up and just have sex with woman after woman, that's damaged thinking. Like, you actually have a lot of internal psychological, emotional work to do on yourself.
You guys might want to go to therapy, or, you know, you could just tune in to Me and Pops and get your shit right.
Hit the sound effect for that.
I mean, that's always funny.
Give me the thumbs down.
Where's the boo at?
Where's the thumbs down?
Thumbs down.
There you go. Man, a little slow uptake there. But,
still getting used to it.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Cut him a little break. By episode 4, you better be on point.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, absolutely, it's low vibrational. You know, damaged thinking, damaged mindset, and, you know, what we're trying to bring to the table. We're trying to have a discussion. And look, for people out there, like, we're not experts on this. We're just having a discussion. And as I said, we plugged. You know, we want your feedback, and we want, you know, to start the conversation, and, you know, so we can change the narrative. But Jason had talked about, and I talked about, our website. It's apexalchemy.online. That's going to be up if you're seeing this episode. It's already up. And you know, we want your feedback in there. We want to talk about stuff. If people have ideas for topics and things like that, like, we're trying to, again, we're not experts, you know, we're nobody special, we're just men, and we're trying to start these conversations, and we want your feedback and any ideas or anything, and you know, just trying to put it out there, basically. But anyway, you know, we're just trying to, you know, address situations and topics that we can all relate to and we all deal with on an everyday basis, you know.
No, of course. And I just wanted to say, like, we're just getting this information out there to you guys right now because we feel like it's important. But in terms of different workshops and additional services that we actually offer, that is going to be on the website as well. So if you guys want more info, check it out, apexalchemy.online. That's apexalchemy.online. So here's my next point, right? Moving forward. So this one I thought was interesting. It's being in a relationship versus being single. So what's the difference in terms of mentality? What's required to be in a relationship? And do you think the majority of men are capable of being single for an extended time? Because that's a big one.
You hit on, yeah, exactly. I was just ready to say that's a good one, because you hit on something. All right, I'm just going to use my own experience, and I think it really applies here. So for the first question, you know, being in a relationship, not being in a relationship, the old me, I always had to have somebody, like, have to have a woman, be in a relationship, or, you know, at least be talking to somebody. And I think that goes back, it's kind of deep rooted, goes back to my childhood.
Right.
And, you know, that's stuff I'll get into later, but I had always had a loneliness thing, because all my siblings are like 12 years younger than me and more. So I was kind of, you know, being in dysfunctional environment, I was kind of always on the back burner. Like I didn't have siblings to talk
Right.
to.
Like, oh, he's
adults-
older, he's good.
No,
Like,
the adults were busy fighting and doing dramatic, whatever, and a bunch of drama. And I was like the kid who was had no siblings in the background, and it was like I always had this feeling of loneliness. So I think, and again, I'll get into that deeper down the road, but I think a lot of that dictated my older life with wanting to sleep with all these women and trying to be this ladies man and all that. And I always had to have somebody I'm at least talking to or in a relationship with. I couldn't be alone. Right. So moving on, once I decided to change my life 3 years ago, as I said, I stayed celibate and single for like 2.5 years. And at first I didn't think I could do it. I struggled. And that was actually when I had a relapse, a little over 2 years ago. That was what it was really about, because
I remember that.
I wanted the relationship back, and I struggled with that so bad. But what I realize now is it wasn't time for me. And then I went back, got myself together, and then I stayed single, and celibate again for over a year. And that was probably one of the most important things I did, along with the other things, the writing and all that. But staying single would allow me to work on myself. It allowed me to, like I was saying earlier, deal with the trauma, deal with the issues within myself, so that I could be the type of man we're talking about.
That's what I was waiting for you to say.
Yeah, who can lead, and who can serve my woman, and vice versa. But be a man, an actual man, and not want to go out and cheat, and be, when I found the right woman, want to just be with her. And again, go back to it. You're always want to see, wow, she's great looking. Wow, she got a great body.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just
inevitable.
natural. And you have to learn to be like, hey, she looks great, but I have something amazing.
Exactly.
And it's getting to that point. And, it takes a lot of work. It doesn't happen overnight. And, you have to deal with the traumas and stuff. So for me, that time alone to work on myself was so pivotal, and it being able to not only in other areas of my life move on, but to work on myself and to be able to have the relationship I have today. And I think your last question was, can a lot of men do it? And my answer would be no, because I kind of told people that, and I've had, goes back to the macho thing. Like, men laugh at me, like, you ain't got no ass in 2.5 years. And I'm like, yeah, and I don't have no problem saying that. And they're like clowning me. You could clown me, like, you're the clown.
I'm like, listen, motherfucker, the fact you're even validating me on a metric to that extent.
I'm not worried about that.
Right.
but my point is, that's the mentality.
Well, the audacity for them to even, it's just crazy to me.
But the mentality, and a lot of men can't do that, and because they can't even go out. A lot of men, and just to take it a step further, can't even go without masturbating, even if they're not having sex. And that's a whole other thing, because that's a whole sacred energy within yourself. And when you're releasing that, it lowers your vibration. And people don't realize, like, I've saw other people before who talk about basically holding your semen, like not having sex and abstaining so long. And they say it actually, people start to get like an aura, like a hue around them, where they vibrate on such a high level, because they're not, and again, this is, things I've read and heard, that, their essence is like a higher vibration, because they're not, higher. They're not, just,
you're not wasting it.
Exactly.
On pointless interactions.
And that goes into what we were saying earlier about when two people have sex, is sacred energy. So I don't think a lot of men are ready for that.
I don't think they are either.
I feel like men out there who, if you're having trouble with that, like, it really did help me, and help me to get past a lot of things. And again, I said it in the first episode, I'm a work in progress. I'm still healing. I'm never going to be healed. Like, certain things are going to pop up. I'm going to see a woman, like, I'm like, dang, look at that. But I'm going to reel myself back in and be like, I got an amazing woman at home. And I do. And I'm blessed for that. But a lot of men aren't ready for that. But if they took a little page out of that book, and I'm not the first one to do it.
No.
It would really benefit them. And you know what? If you took a page out of that book, stay abstinent, work, on your job, saving money, your health, your mental health, your emotional health, dealing with the trauma, it's going to get like a snowball is going to turn into, this big, avalanche. It's going to start, but it's going to go in a positive way. It's going to, you build off of that, and you're going to keep
it's going to accumulate.
And then you're going to meet that woman at the end where you're like, damn, I didn't know I could have a woman like this. Because you've dealt with your issues. So now you allowed to freed yourself up to meet the person that's right for you.
Honestly, that's real shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't agree more.
Again, people who know my past life, especially when I was a teenager in my 20s, I was a man whore. Like, and they'll tell you, like, put it this way. It just sounds crazy, but when I was growing up in the late 80s, when I was a teenager, that's when AIDS had come out and all that. My friends voted me the most likely to get AIDS because I slept with so many women. Like, it's nothing to be proud of, but like, that's a sad shit. You know what I mean? And like I said, when I look back on it, I don't even know my number, and it's embarrassing. But again, in Islam we say mashallah, which means God's plan. God had a plan for me, with the drugs, with the everything that happened was part of the plan, and I found myself, and it allowed me not only to put the drugs down, but to work on myself and to work on the character defects and the pain inside, and it wound up freeing me up to get all these blessings, job, relationships, family, everything.
100%. And no, I can resonate with that. I mean, deeply, if I'm being extremely transparent, because when I was on my purpose, I'm talking locked in. I'm hitting the gym every day. I'm working on my craft. I'm working on construction, electrical, whatever it may be, plumbing. I'm, journaling. Like you said, the writing aspect is huge. I'm working on the website. We're working on the podcast. Like, I'm locked in so much. Yeah. And my schedule is so busy with productive things. I don't have the time to even sit around and worry about a woman. I don't have time to sit there and put my energy towards things that aren't best serving me. Yeah. And that, at its core foundation, is masculine purpose. Absolutely. It's finding what you're meant to do, which in my opinion is literally whatever you give meaning and what's important to you, because that's going to be different for everybody. But
to that real quick, just so I don't forget, a lot of people will tell you, and you always hear it, and it sounds so cliche, like, when the time is right, the person will find you. No. You won't have to. No, but wait, no, listen to me. It is true, because we look, we're so pursuing, like, I want to find somebody. If you just do what you said, lock in with your job, the gym, mental health, whatever your passion is, like we're doing this, whatever it is, and you don't have time for BS, like mindless TV and entertaining BS or being at the bar and this and that. You just focus on progressing and like the things that you really want out of life. Being single, eventually you're going to meet somebody organically. And that's what I'm saying when they always say that cliche, oh, when the time is right, somebody will find you. They will find you.
I'm going to say this. Go ahead. You're right if you're putting in the work. But some people still expect that same end result, and they don't put in the work.
Of course, I'm talking about putting in the work.
Why me?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's what they mean.
That's
they say that eventually when the time is right, they'll find you. No, and that's where when I said about how I had to relapse over the loneliness, I wasn't doing I was put the drugs down. I did this, I did that, but I didn't do all the work I needed to do, and it wasn't time. And I was so like, why can't I meet somebody? Why? Because I was trying too hard. Instead of focusing on what mattered and trying to progress, like you said, and locking in with work and health and, so on and so forth. That's why I was so blinded with the relationship. It was all like, I'd go to bed at night and I would just think like, and I was like obsessing. And again, it's deep rooted. It goes back to my childhood. And that's what I had to deal with, those type of things to free me up and say, you know what? They're right. It sounds cliche. And I used to hate when people say like, oh, it's when the time is right, you'll meet somebody. Trust me.
Yeah, but it's the truth.
And it is the truth if you do the work. Like you said, if you don't do the work,
big emphasis on the work, because that's 80% of it, right?
That's 90% of it. And to be honest, if you don't do the work, you might meet somebody, but it's going to be the wrong person. Right. And then if you don't do the work, you might not meet.
That's where but potential toxicity comes in. Drama, cheating, low energy.
Just like they say, anything worth having doesn't come easy. You have to put work in, and even in a relationship. And then once you get the relationship, it goes back to this whole topic of what we're talking about. You have to serve each other. And if you're not in a relationship with somebody who serves you, and then they pour back in you, and vice versa, you're not lifting each other up and lightening each other's burden.
It's not it.
It's not it. You need to stop. You need to, move on and find somebody else. And women who are entertaining these little boys who don't work or sitting on your couch playing PlayStation and Xbox while you're out working 40 hours and then coming home and cooking for the kids and watching the kids.
I've had some homies like that too.
Sis, I'm looking at you, sis. Let that man go. There ain't no sex in the world. Go get you a vibrator or whatever you need. Like, let these little boys go.
Yeah, whatever's gonna get you through.
You're not going to meet the man that's going to treat you right and treat you like the queen that you are and serve you, and you pour into each other. You're not going to meet him if he's sitting on the couch playing PlayStation while you're at work and still playing PlayStation while you're washing the kids and putting them to bed and cooking for them. That's not the man for you, girl. Trust me, I promise you that. I'm looking at it. It's not the man for you. Let that man go. And that's real. Like, and on the man's side too. If your woman is worried about she on social media, doing all this, shaking her ass and taking all these pictures to get likes and attention,
just being extra.
And you're working your ass off and trying to progress, and she's so worried about all that external. That's not the right woman for you, bro. Yep. Let her go. Do the work. Lock in, like we're talking about, and that person will come if you do the work. I promise you, and I'm no expert. I'm just speaking from experience. Yeah. Like, it really happened for me.
And you know what? I always said this, like, I never went to college, I was always blue collar guy, labor, construction, but I always say life's my greatest teacher. Absolutely. Because I'm super observant when it comes down to things like that, and there's been plenty of relationships that I've been in, a few at this point now, where it was just one-sided. I was doing too much, she was doing too much, and
sometimes we were the problem.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah. And I can admit that as a man. Again, accountability. I can't sit here and be like, oh, well, it was exclusively her and she's a bitch and XYZ. That's delusional. Yeah. Now, as far as accountability goes, I had to not only have the awareness to realize, you know what, hey, maybe I dropped the ball in that situation. Yeah. But also the action part of it, putting in the work to get better with those, whether it was leadership, whether it was communication. It doesn't matter where I was lacking, but the desire to get better on these things is definitely the key point there. Mm-hmm.
So, and the work, you have to do the work. You got to just stop. Like, if your life is not what you want, even if it isn't relationship, whatever it is you want out of life, you got to go for it. You got to put all that other BS on them, other distractions aside. It's like right now, whatever your passion is, there's somebody else who has that same passion. And the crazy part is, I see a lot of people where, just say for instance, here's an example. Me and you want to do the same thing, right?
Right.
But you're working, you don't even have as much talent as I do, but you're busting your ass. You put everything into that. And even though you don't have the same talent as me, and again, this is just an example.
Right.
We want to do the same thing. You don't have as much talent as me, but your work ethic and your determination and your discipline exceeds mine so much. Yeah,
I got heart.
You're going to do that. You're going to do that thing that you want to do, and I'm not.
Because my heart's in it, and I'm putting in the work.
And I'm talking about it. You're doing it. And that's the whole thing right there, whether it's relationship, work, whatever it is you want in life, you have to put the work in to get it, relationship-wise as well, And
100%.
If you don't do the work on yourself, nobody else is going to fix you. You got to fix you. I had to fix me. I'm not fully fixed, but I feel like I'm, kind of together.
Slowly,
again, work in progress, still healing. But yeah, I mean, this stuff, like I said, in the beginning, there's a lot of layers to it. It's like an onion. But, again, we have to, be accountable. And as you said, there was relationships that I screwed up and things I've done wrong. And it's, a lot of nowadays, narcissistic is thrown around a lot, but there's a lot of narcissistic people.
I've ran into a few.
You're doing something wrong, and when somebody points it out, people are defensive, and that's not me, and they turn it around on you. Like, accountability is so huge, and it frees you up. Like, sometimes, sorry, like, you know what, you're right. Well, I need to do better with that, or I was wrong, and I need to do better, and it frees you up because it's like, because you ever notice, like, when somebody gives you constructive criticism, if your first initial, I think all of because we're human, it's like, you're like, not me. It's like your first, like, I'm perfect, but that's our ego again.
Right.
You know, but we're not perfect. We make mistakes.
We make mistakes all the time.
Yeah, so it's like you have to step back and be like, you know what, and look at it from their perspective. Hey, if I was them, I'd feel a certain type of way too, and you know, I need to work on that. And you know, Angela, in my relationship, she has really shown me a lot of things and taught me a lot of things. And she's not perfect either. You know, none of us are, but she's really helped me to look at things from a different perspective. And you know, I always talk about perspective and mindset. And you know, it's been huge for me. You know, besides my own work, just my relationship with her has taught me a lot as well.
No, that's great. I love that for you guys, for real.
Yeah.
And you know, accountability on top of that, there's another word that's just as important, if not even more important: discernment. And this is something I tremendously struggle with because, I mean, you're in a relationship, right? And it's always good in the beginning, first couple months, 2-3 months, and you know, lovebirds, everything is, you know, perfect. You guys are going out, whatever it is.
It's called the honeymoon period.
Exactly, honeymoon phase, whatever you want to call it. It's so difficult sometimes to really determine, you know, not even if that person aligns with you long term, but really if they're putting on a mask and how to decipher that, right? Like, for example, they could be sitting there saying, oh, you know, love bombing you, and then the next second they're going cold, right? And then how do you discern what's manipulation and what's authentic versus, you know, are they putting on a mask or are they just straight up lying to me? So discernment is just as important, not even just in relationships, but life in general. Making the right decisions for yourself, whether it's financially, spiritually, mentally. I mean, in every area of life. But that one is also a huge one that I think is not low key, but I think it's not talked about enough. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
I'm glad you said that too, because it really made me think of something that's so important, and it's something that in my personal life, I'll just, again, you know, go off of my own experience. But there's a huge word: consistency. And you know, since I changed things around, like when me and her first met, you know, if she was sitting here right now, she would tell you, we've been together, you know, a little over a year, 13, 14 months, whatever. We have talked every single day. There's not one day that went by where we didn't talk, even when we weren't living together. And we talked about everything. Like, if I had plans that day, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to such and such. Like, we let each other know, you know, so it wasn't that, oh, I wonder where he's at. He disappeared. She disappeared. Where are they at? Are they cheating? Like, we never allowed that. But you know, that's the stuff that goes through your mind.
Insecurities.
But it's about consistency. Like, I would let her know, and she would let me know. So we always knew the expectations. Like, I'm gonna call you later. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be busy. It's just communication. Communication.
Right.
And
just tell them straight up.
Be
like, hey, listen, here's the deal.
Consistent. And I feel like for people out there, you know, that's the signs are the sign. Like, if a person really cares about you, they're going to let you know all that. Oh, I didn't see your text. I didn't see your call, and then they're missing for a day. That's BS.
Stop.
If a person does that, cut them off immediately. Cut them off immediately.
I love that, because let's be real. Every single person is on their phone. No one is that busy.
Exactly.
I have friends that are super successful, pretty much millionaires. Now, don't get it twisted. They are busy, but they always make it a point to reach back out.
Even if it's the end of the day, when a night
Doesn't
had a busy
matter.
day, that's my point. Me and her have talked every single day. We've never missed a day. I've never just disappeared, but she didn't know where I was.
No,
and,
I love
you know,
that.
all that questions, and vice versa. You know, her as well. And she would tell you that fully 100% if she was right here. And that's what it is. You have to communicate. If you know, and again, even when problems arise, like I said earlier, me and her, we might have an argument. I made her feel a certain type of way. I didn't do something. And a lot of times we don't even realize little things we do that affect them.
Oh, yeah.
And the communication is so key, because sometimes, like, you know, we're oblivious, especially us, you know, with men. Like I said, you know, we're supposed to serve each other and pour into each other, but sometimes, you know, we're idiots sometimes, you know, us, because they're the emotional ones. Women are emotional creatures. I'm an emotional creature, but I'm just saying, men in general, sometimes we're idiots. Like, we forget certain things, and you might not even know what you did that hurt them. And that's why communication is so key. And when they tell you, like, hey, you did this that hurt me, you can't be like, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta empathize and be like, oh, wow, you know what, you're right. I did do that. I dropped the ball. Take accountability. And you know, vice versa. It doesn't just go that way. but it's communication is so key because we expect sometimes, people to read our minds and, understand how we feel when, all we have to do is say it. And so with me and her, like, we constantly try to communicate. And again, I'm not trying to paint this picture like me and her have this, like, we have a regular relationship like everybody, but it's a real relationship. We bring things to the table, we have issues and problems, but we talk about them. We don't run from them. It ain't like, oh, I'm having problems, I'm gonna tuck and run, and go mess with somebody else. And that's what a lot of people do. Once things get rough, they just want to run. They don't want to deal with it, just like the issues in their life, their personal stuff. They don't want to deal with that trauma. So it's I'm gonna go get high, I'm gonna go drink. The same thing. This relationship's starting to get rocky. Instead of working on it, let me go run. And that's what a lot of people. Because
it's difficult. It's difficult to work on. It's not the easiest thing to do.
But communication is just so key. And if you communicate and vice versa, back and forth, and have that consistency, where you know where they're at, you know what to expect. I mean, and expectations are scary too, because with expectations come resentments when they don't. Like, if you expect something, if I expect something from you and you don't do it, now I'm pissed off and I'm resenting you because so it's hard. But in a relationship, you learn what to expect because of the consistency.
Right.
So because me and her always, every day we talk, and now we live together, but we communicate. So now it's expected because there's been a pattern. So that's for people out there, like, if the pattern starts changing, something changed. Their energy's off. You can tell, like, instantly. Like, she can tell, even if it has nothing to do with our relationship. When she comes home, if something's bothering her, I could tell instantly.
Within 3 seconds.
If something bothering me, she could tell instantly, even if it doesn't have anything to do with each other. And then sometimes I'll be like, what's wrong? She's like, nothing. I'm like, come on, baby. Like, I know. Like, I'm not stupid. So, communication, and you can tell because of the consistency. When somebody, that consistency changes, usually there's an issue. And, these are things that, we have to talk about and that are real. And for me, like, all that stuff has really worked. And for the first time in my life, I actually have a healthy relationship. So.
Nah, dude, and I love that for you, honestly.
Thank you.
Seriously. And I love all the topics that we're talking about because not only do they hit home for me, you, I mean, I'm sure a ton of our viewers.
And that's why, I dropped the, of course, that's something we kind of want to do in the end, but I wanted to just put the website out there again, which we're going to constantly tell you all about, but because we want feedback, and it's like, even if it's, hey, you guys were talking about that during the episode, and you know what, you're wrong, and hey, so be it. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I know he's not. Like, we're no experts. It's just we're having a conversation. Again, we're trying to have a conversation and change the narrative with certain things. So, maybe one or two people start like, hey, he's right. Maybe a man out there is like, you know what, he's right, man. It ain't all them, it's me. I need to work on stuff. I need to start doing more stuff for my woman. And if that was to happen to one person, then we did, this is all worth it. So.
No, and listen, it takes courage to look in that mirror and be like, you know what? Hey, I fucked up. I need to do better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of people that aren't prepared for that. I mean, I had to do it. This is back 2020, 5-year relationship. It didn't end well. Shit happens. And after that, I started over. Moved states. I'm out here in PA. Was over in Jersey. And that was a dark time. With COVID and everything, there was a lot of shit going on just in the world, but a lot of stuff going on for me personally. And at that point, I had to take the time to look myself in the mirror, start from scratch, rebuild myself up, and I'm much better for it. Not only did I learn a lot, but
that's great.
There was a lot of stuff that I was able to overcome because I put in the work.
And I can tell that even myself, And one last thing I wanted to say, as far as the topic that we're talking about, and you made me think of it with that even in relationships that don't work out, and even if, an ex has even traumatized us, I don't even like being like, yeah, F that, F her, and F him, and he did it. I almost want to say, like, thank you. Because you taught me so many lessons.
Hey, you know what's crazy?
For real.
It's
like,
crazy
you taught me what not to allow myself to accept anymore.
Exactly.
And what warning signs or,
what
whatever
my
they taught
are.
you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They taught you lessons along the way. So when people are like, yeah, F her, like, nah, bro, you should be thanking her.
And
she taught you something, And you know, you need to take that and learn and carry that forward into your next relationship. And again, like you said,
That's exactly
it
what
might not be all her. It's like
Mhm.
you get to look. Most people that are like, yeah, F her. Usually they're just as much to blame, if not more.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
they're just in denial. So, you know, again, I don't, even all my exes, even your mother, you know, I take, you know, little lessons. And again, no shade on her. This is like, I take lessons from all my past, like just like anything in life.
Which you
It's
should.
like, it's about
It'd be
learning.
stupid if you didn't.
And
Like-
I thank all of them, you know, for things they taught me.
Right.
And even the good times, you know what I mean? So, you know, there's lessons to be learned from everybody. You know, some people come for a reason, some people come for a season. Some people give you blessings, some teach you lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes
Yeah,
down
I mean,
to.
that's facts.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap everything up here, I think that was a lot of good topics that we talked about today. Now, I have a challenge for you guys that are actually viewing this. So, I want you to comment on this video, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you're seeing this, whatever platform. Just leave us a little comment on what you think we should talk about moving forward, what you guys
Critique.
liked, what you guys didn't. I mean, we're open to engagement and things like that. And, you know, just the fact you guys are even engaging with us and, you know, listening to what we have to say, it's appreciated.
Yeah, and also, like, if you do resonate with what, you know, things that we talk about and you do like them, you know, we ask you, you know, subscribe and share, you know, tell friends about it, share it. Let people know about it. You know, again, we're not special. We're just, you know, trying to have conversations and change the narrative. So if you can do that, you know, we will both be forever grateful.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we're going to see you
Appreciate it.
next week for episode 3. Stay unplugged.
Peace.